Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, loaded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 is loaded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Laugh a while you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Look at that. I remember to change your avatar there, but I forgot to upload it to here. So I'll remember for next time. I plugged in the flash drive and I thought, shit. There was too much trouble at that point. So I'll get it next time. But I remembered for the main one.
You did remember, but when you change out the one on your background, I think you should add in something on the screen. And there's something very apt that happened, like R.I.P. Warner Brothers or in loving memory of Warner Brothers on the actual screen behind you.
Yeah,
something like that, honoring the passing of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that tomorrow on Roundtable. It's a developing story. There's so much to it. Well, I mean, this isn't a Christmas movie, Frank, and even though it's not, I'm still wearing it because for the month of December, I will wear the Santa hat on stream every time, no matter what's going on. Regular videos when I do make them, and I will be making them soon. Regular videos, I will take it off, but for December, it's my way of trying to be festive. Y'all call me curmudgeon, but I'm not.
Well, normally I would be wearing the Santa hat this month as well, but I have a NASA hat. We're talking about a movie about NASA people, so it just felt
appropriate.
apt.
It's appropriate. I mean, next week we're doing a Christmas movie, and I remembered finally. Everybody go to the posts tab on the channel. Chat choice for fourth quarter of 2025 is up. Christmas movies. You guys have till next weekend to submit your suggestions, and then you will vote quickly. And by next weekend and following weekend, you guys will watch your Christmas movie before we go on Christmas break. Anyway, welcome everybody to Saturday Night Drive-In, where we try to take a break from everything, as I suppress a hiccup, to enjoy talking about movies. Sometimes we love them, sometimes we hate them, and sometimes we're going to get very intellectual, and I think we're going to get intellectual tonight with Jed's choice. But how you doing, Endless Jed?
Endless Jed. Yes, I am doing great. It's been a busy week for me with the channel rebrand, streaming, getting a ton of people watching my gaming streams. Hopefully going to do more of those, but it's great to be here talking about one of my favorite movies. Yes, I know I am a Nolan fanboy, so no one should be surprised that I absolutely love this movie. I do have to say, apparently I'm cosplaying as Michael Keaton's Batman tonight because I pulled something in my neck right now, so every time I'm turning, I'm using my whole body to do it.
I've been
so
there.
If you see that, you'll understand what I'm doing. I'm just cosplaying Michael Keaton.
I've had the stiff neck where so
Mhm.
you can't. You have to do this. The
Mm.
worst one ever is when I got sick one Christmas and it was my little entire torso couldn't move. It was terrible. That was a really bad one. But anyway, this was Jed's choice this week. Interstellar. I had never seen it. This is my first reaction to it ever. And I'm going to have some thoughts. Anyway, before we get going, good sir, Algrim the Strong at the century level for 34 months. So, quick housekeeping. Since I've been absent, Jed is the Hollywood scholar deceased or simply added upon. Glad you're feeling better, Adam. So yes, I am feeling better. I'm still sick. Whatever this was, we're going into week 3 now. Whatever the hell I picked up, it's ebbing. My voice sounds worse than I actually am. It's just still a little laryngitis-y, but I'm fine. But Jed, why don't you explain to a good Sir Algrim what's going on?
So I'm still gonna be colloquially called the Hollywood Scholar from time to time, just because of the nature of it. So Hollywood Scholar isn't dead. I still have the email Hollywood Scholar and everything like that, but the channel has been renamed from Hollywood Scholar to The Endless Frontiers to align with my book franchise, also called The Endless Frontier, that I'll be periodically releasing over the next few years. I have the first 4 books pretty much all ready to go, all written, ready to publish, just gearing up for that, starting with a prequel short story, The Brighton Pacification, available now at endlessfrontierbooks.com. So I just wanted to align it like that for brand symmetry and put a little momentum behind the books as they start to come out. But yeah, the Hollywood Scholar, not deceased, just a new coat of paint, we'll say.
Yeah. And you can see right there on his sub right there. There it is, endlessfrontierbooks.com. You can go there and check it out. Support this good little ginger man there. Anyway. All right. So, Jed, you picked this one for today because you threatened me with it a few weeks ago. You said, we're going to do this one. You hadn't seen it. Oh, we're going to do it. So you decided, all right, let's do it. And why don't you walk us into it and start us off in the subject, because we can go in any direction on this particular movie, I feel, with the way it breaks down as a movie.
Perfect. So yeah, with the channel rebrand, I wanted to choose a big science fiction film that we never gotten around to. I was struggling because I picked so many of the great ones up to this point, like Alien and The Thing. And you mentioned that you hadn't seen this a few weeks ago, which I apparently already knew, but had entirely forgotten. So it felt like the perfect one because my channel focuses a lot on hard science fiction and the actual science behind a lot of things. And there are a few films that represent hard science fiction than Interstellar. It is incredibly accurate and scientifically plausible. Like the black hole simulations at the end of the film were so accurate and intricate that, like, for example, your computer, Adam, it would take your computer 7 years to render out the black hole simulation. Just an average computer. That's how intricate it was. And it was so good that scientific papers have been written about that simulation, and it's deepened our understanding of black holes. And on the flip end as well, it's inspiring new scientific research. So TARS, the character, the robot, his name was given to a new theoretical scientific device that could enable small probes to be launched periodically for dirt cheap from a solar orbit near Earth's orbit. And yeah, it just the balance of sci-fi inspiring science fiction and science fiction inspiring science is very much present in this one. I saw this film when it initially came out. I was 14 years old, watched it for my birthday actually in D-Box. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to watch a film in D-Box. That's where the seat moves with you. And especially at the end of the second act, maybe the beginning of the third act, when the Endurance is spinning and Matthew McConaughey has to get his Ranger to match the spin. That scene was fantastic in D-Box. But Interstellar stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, a surprise cameo by Matt Damon. He was not in the marketing whatsoever. No one knew until they were watching the film that he was in it. And a few other legends like Michael Keaton and, unfortunately, Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, because when they were talking about Matt Damon's character and pointing to all the pictures, you couldn't tell that was him in the picture. I thought it was an Asian man in the picture.
Oh, there was some very specific cinematography. They zoomed in on his nameplate there and then cut to somebody else. So your brain did exactly what they wanted yours to do, is connect that name with that picture.
See what, because that picture became center frame. And that's what that's who I thought they were referencing. And listen, I hope nobody gets angry with how I'm going to approach talking about this today, because I know
There's more hate for this movie than love on the internet right now, so
all right,
you'll
I'm not
be
going to
in
be no, all right, all
company.
right. There's no hate. Let me get this
Mhm.
straight. I am not going to be hating on this movie. I'm going to be just criticizing some choices that were made narratively wise, because production wise, this is Nolan to the T. Specific shots. I mean, when they're in the, what was the ship called again?
The Endurance.
No, the smaller one. Not the
The
Endurance one.
Ranger?
The Ranger. Thank you, the Ranger. A lot of times having it right on, like, essentially where the rear view mirror would be, where you have that point of view. Nolan did a lot of Nolan stuff, and it works. And it works. As well as we could say that Nolan and I think his brother wrote it with him. Is that right?
Yep, Jonathan was
Yeah.
involved.
They trusted the audience in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
I mean, because we start this movie off. At first, you think it's current day, but enough discussions happen in the first 15, 20 minutes. Realize, no. We're in the future from where we are now. You're without dates. No dates are given. No references to events are really given, other than we are made to understand a world war had happened because of essentially a food crisis. And when it was all said and done, the world isn't, the population is massively decreased, because at one point John Lithgow's character says 6 billion people. Can you imagine? Yeah, I know you can't imagine that. So clearly there's not 6 billion people on the planet anymore, far less. And we know that the dust bowls are killing the crops one at a time. We know that the enemy was India, because that's what they call the drone that lands there, and that they salvage. And so you're able to piece together pretty quickly if you're intelligent, because they give you the breadcrumbs. You have to put it
Mhm.
together yourself, which I'm capable of. I'm not lunch meat. I like myself as I won't say I'm prime rib, but I'm a good New York strip. I'm a good solid New York strip. But you piece together, this is the future. You can see by the laptops, these are it's different technology. They are now looking at essentially an extinction level threat.
Mhm.
The worldwide famine that is continuing to grow and grow. So have I essentially grasped what's going on in the world setting, Jed? Have I grasped this correctly?
Yep, that's the general setting of the film. It's in the very near future, but because of the wars involved in the famine and everything like that, technological advancement has slowed. So it's a little bit farther out than most people think. I believe it takes place around 2150.
Okay.
So it's well over a century in our future to give time for the rise of the war, the famines, and everything like that. But technology has been very slow with everything going on with that. And everyone's isolated into small communities. There's not the big cities anymore with the big sporting events, as they mentioned in the baseball portion.
Mhm.
And yeah, humanity is limping along, but this period is the best it's been in a very long time. A lot of people think it can get better. They see hope on the horizon. It isn't until we meet Michael Caine's character in the newly formed NASA, or the reformed NASA, that we find out that the blight causing all these crop issues also sucks up a lot of oxygen, and those who don't starve will start to suffocate. Murph's
Yeah.
generation, Matthew McConaughey's daughter, will be the last to live full lives on this planet. So
Mhm.
the world thinks things are getting better. So there's not necessarily hope, but there's starting to be a feeling of contentment among people.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why NASA is so relegated to the shadows. Is yes, before it was a matter of spending. No one wanted their taxpayer dollars to go to fanciful trips. Of course, no one knew about the wormhole and the possibilities that presented. But in the era of contentment, no one wants to spend money on things like that. You'd think it would be the other way around, but we are seeing that today in our modern society. A lot of people devalue space exploration and
Mhm.
everything like that because they don't see a need of it, even though it's very much prevalent in our lives, as facilitated or that depicted so well by Matthew McConaughey when he is called into the principal's office for the school. Murph is telling people that the moon landings were real. And at this school, they no longer teach that. They teach
Yeah.
it that it was a fabricated
Hoax.
event, propaganda. And I never related to a character more than I did when Cooper, Matthew McConaughey's character, was like, you know what? There's a baseball game tomorrow. My daughter's favorite team is playing. I think I'll take her to that, get her a hot dog, and have a great time as punishment for saying that the moon landings were real. And I really appreciated that. But he also neatly showed why space exploration, even when there isn't a wormhole to facilitate becoming an interstellar species, is so valuable. Because what he said was true. We developed CT scan technology because of space travel. We developed Velcro because of space travel. There's so many pieces of technology that were developed because of the space program. Now, disingenuous people would come back with, oh, they found technology in space. No, these problems were presented, and we created solutions to those problems, and we found out that those solutions could be applied to many other things. That's actually something that I was told on a stream when I mentioned that CT scans were developed by space travel. Like, oh, they found CT scans in space? You're so dumb. Like, no.
It's necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
You create solutions to your problems, and that's and you're absolutely right. Breaking it down, without the drive to explore space, we would not have a lot of the foundational technologies that led to other technologies we have today. And that is why also we have to make it perfectly clear. That's why I wanted to start it with this, that we are farther in the future, because there's no way the Ranger or the Endurance would exist in present day technology. Or
they're not that far off. Yeah, TARS is a little ways off, but the Rangers aren't as far-fetched as they might seem. The main aspect of stretching real physics that you'll see in the film is actually the spin gravity. So it's a common sci-fi trope that spin gravity can be utilized like they do in the film. The problem is the scale of it. Same problem we had in Space Odyssey is you need a huge system to spin. Like, we're talking miles to make safe and non-nauseating artificial gravity from spin. The Endurance just isn't big enough to make that realistic gravity.
You have to accept it for the storytelling purposes.
Considering how much else they get 100% accurate, using a normal sci-fi trope to stretch the truth, because that's all they're doing, stretching it, because it's entirely possible to do spin gravity. They're just playing with the scale of it. So I still can completely let that go.
All right, so we've set the foundation of what's going on. So where do you want to go from here? Because I'm not sure how to approach this, really, because I want to make sure we cover the right stuff talking about this today.
I think it might be best to go through it in chronological order.
Okay.
Or at least, act by act, just so that we can focus on the reveals as they develop.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. So essentially, just to hurry to the moment of catalyst where we're going to get things going here. After a particular nasty dust storm where Murph doesn't forgets to close her window, a lot of extra dust is in her room. Now, at this point, she had been complaining about a ghost in her room and this and that. She didn't break the Apollo model, this and that. And Cooper's trying to teach her that, everything can be proven. It has to be proven before it needs to be fact. You have to do the scientific method. He's instilling her a logical approach to things, which is good. I like that. That's good character work. And also, during this first part, they're setting the foundation, father-daughter relationship, good dad type of stuff. And that's the backbone part, one of the backbones of this movie, that everything he's doing is for her. And she's got a bunch of, her room is essentially a mini library. It's about a part of a big bookcase, and the books are falling out. And she sees a pattern, and Cooper sort of sees a pattern, doesn't, but then he sees other things. But then he realizes that there is a specific force at work here: gravity, and that creates the scientific, I guess, engine of the movie that gravity is going to solve. If we harness the technological solutions of gravity, it will solve a lot of problems that they're facing, such as creating the ability to get a space station off the ground, traverse the stars and stuff like that. Have I grasped that correctly too? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything here.
Yes, that's the central problem of the film, is solving the equation of gravity to get enough people off the Earth, because the Endurance is the peak of what NASA is able to build at this time. And obviously, maybe 10 people could fit on that vessel. That's not a Exodus route. So they need to figure out how to solve gravity or use plan B that we learn later is through frozen embryos and whatnot. But gravity is presented very accurately in this film, at least according to the theories of Einstein, like general relativity. What a lot of people don't realize is Newton's gravity laws and Einstein's, they don't 100% work together, and you have to focus on one or the other at the time. So this film is 100% leaning towards Einstein's explanation of the universe, rightfully so, because that is the leading interpretation right now. And especially with things like relativity and time dilation, it's central to the film. And it's presented absolutely accurately, because in Einstein's theories, it's the fabric of space-time. Space and time are intricately connected, and gravity is the distortion of space-time. So it can transcend both time and space, because that's what it fundamentally is.
What the reveal is in that gravity is basically the one thing that cuts through it all, because it can't be stopped, essentially. And I do appreciate the time dilation, because a lot of people, when they play with black holes, they forget in science fiction, they forget about the time dilation. They forget about that.
Or make it too small, like in Fantastic Four, around a neutron star, not a black hole. But still, the scales involved are massive. And the film really does a great job, because in Einstein's theories, time travel into the future has always been possible. We all do it. We just don't realize it because of how small the scale is. Gravity affects our head and our feet differently. So our head and our feet travel through time at different rates. But once you get out into space around these large bodies, you're going faster than the speed of light, or as close to the speed of light, and you're around black holes. It starts to make a massive difference. And it's about a century in the film that it takes. And that's a real problem that we're going to have to face going out, becoming an interstellar or even interplanetary species, is dealing with that difference.
Barring discovery of energy sources that would change our ability to do more than we can. Because to me, that's always been the bar in the way. Energy source powerful enough to get us beyond our own solar system without having to do cold sleep and hibernation and stuff like that. So
enough energy to do something like a wormhole, warp, or gravity manipulation. Because a lot of people are confused how an equation can solve everything. Well, it's not an equation, but the equations of aerodynamics have given us control over the skies. So it's the same principle.
Yeah. And there's a lot of parts to it. There's the math part, but then there is the physical aspect. As I said, it would take an energy source we're not aware of or haven't discovered yet, or can't tap into, to elevate us to. I'm having trouble with my words today. Maybe because I don't want to get this one wrong as we could do this discussion. I'll make sure I think it out properly. In order to reach the strength that one would need to accomplish these monumental tasks. And like you said, the movie does an excellent job working with the most fundamental things that we would understand for space travel. Nolan doesn't stretch it beyond the impossible. He keeps us able to wrap our minds around it, because nothing we see in this is beyond reason. And that's what
it's all plausible. That was his rule.
Good word. Plausible. By making it plausible, that's what makes the movie. It makes the movie relatable. It's like, okay, I can see this happening. I can get behind this. I'm not completely pulled out. And for the record, what got me a little pulled out of the movie had nothing to do with the science or the math. It's the application it's the narrative, the characters, it's the storytelling. Then in the end, I have a bit of a problem with here. And have you ever heard anybody complain about the storytelling in this, Jed, in the arguments?
In some aspects, like with the love storyline, but most of the criticisms that I've seen for this film are from people who found it boring, like Cal State talking about in the chat. And yes, it is a slow movie. It is a slow burn. And I'm the target audience. I am perfectly attuned to this type of film, but it doesn't work for everyone. So there's that.
I feel like with my narrative complaints, maybe 20 minutes could have been shaved off this movie.
It's possible. It's a long movie. It's almost 3 hours. I could see a few places where it could be trimmed. But the other aspect that I see people criticize a lot is fundamentally, they don't understand the film. So their explanation is it must not make sense. It's very much, if it doesn't make sense to
the film.
No, I'm not saying that that's you, but there are people who don't understand the black hole at the end. So they're like, the whole movie's trash. The black hole thing doesn't make any sense. Well, it does. You just aren't experienced in that area. And it's fine not to be experienced in that area, but there needs to be a certain a willingness to have humility.
And
admit that you don't know something.
And you need to understand that they are at that point dealing with a lot of theoretical stuff at that point.
Yes,
With the
it's
final
very
black hole stuff. And you have to understand that the they that are manipulating this, and we'll get to that that's another one of my problems with this. And it's all narrative story related. That's where my problems for this movie come up from. It's about the narrative, the story, some of the choices, the character behaviors. There are where all my problems are related to. They are evolved to a point where they can manipulate.
Legatus, there are separate things. There is a wormhole at the beginning, and there is a black hole. So both things, they're separate. But
The wormhole is the door to get to the other galaxy, and Gargantua is the black hole. Two
on the
different
other
things.
side.
Yeah, two things. Now, let's keep going here because I don't want to tangent too much as we because I want to get into the meat of this stuff where I want to see if you think my eventual criticisms are fair or not.
Right. Coop's a farmer. He sees the gravitational disturbances in his house with the dust leading towards coordinates of the secret. A farmer
who's a trained engineer, though, who never got to do what he was trained to do.
Yep, he was a trained engineer and pilot, but when the wars broke out, there was less of a need for stuff like that because it's automated warfare, as you see with the drone that they capture. So there's not a need for people like him. There is a need for farmers. Everyone's starving to death. So he is forced into the only career field available. But yeah, he is able to find NASA. And just as a side note, the sequence when he finds the drone, sees it flying overhead, and they chase it down, right? They're driving through all this corn. The funny thing is they couldn't get permission to drive through anyone's cornfield. So Chris just hired different farmers to grow corn. They drove through it. And then at the end of the shoot, they're like, hey, maybe we could just sell it. So they sold the corn for a profit. And that was counted against the film budget.
Yeah.
But they were able to find the secretly reformed NASA and connect with some of Cooper's old contacts from his days when he was working for NASA, or at least what NASA was back when he was a pilot. And they're preparing for a last-ditch effort to save humanity, to get them off this dying world.
Yeah. Run by Michael Keaton and several other people. His daughter,
Michael Caine.
Why did I say Caine? Because you said Keaton earlier. That's why.
Yeah, I did.
Michael Caine and his daughter, Anne Hathaway, who is smart yet stupid.
She's very book smart. That's something you'll find with a lot of scientists is theory versus application. They struggle with application.
Yeah, they're not good in the field.
And there's no field training available to them right now. So that's why Cooper is so valuable. Is he only flew really one real world time, and he ended up in a crash. But that experience is far more than anybody else that they have available. So they're just personnel resources are immensely low.
So Act 1 closes where they basically convince Coop to be the pilot, and it's all about, and Michael Caine, we'll spoil this out, feeds in the lie that I'm going to solve the equation, which he solved years ago, because they don't.
Well, he solved as much as he could
without data from inside a black hole, and he lies that we're going to get it, we're going to save everybody. The real plan was Plan B: send the fertilized cryostasis eggs out there to restart a colony so that the species can continue someplace else. But he lies to Cooper, telling him, because he knows the only way he's going to get Coop's cooperation is that if they could save the world to save his family. That's it. That's the only way. And as he's trying to leave, he has a very sad break with Murph, his daughter. She's saying, you have to stay. The books are telling me to stay. And that's where you're thinking, oh, this is so predictable.
You say it's predictable, but you're one of the first people I've ever talked to who knew it was him beforehand. Most people didn't realize until he was in the black hole.
As soon as she said, "You're my ghost," I knew it had to be either him or him influencing in some way. But I knew there was somebody giving a message, stay. I knew she didn't imagine it.
Right.
And that this is somebody knew what was going to happen, that tells me, it already told me that this mission was going to be a disaster. It already told me that. I was like, okay, maybe this is my experience as a storyteller, as somebody who's watched movies for all my years. I can see what they're doing here. I see the threads. And so they have a very bad thing. She's very angry at him, and she stays that way for a long time, as we're going to find out. Now, then we get to the cool stuff, the launch, all that kind of stuff. I will say, though, that even though they show it that it is practical, Tars and Cade or Cabe, what was the other one called? Case.
Mm-hmm.
Silly designs for robots. Although they do show the practicality of how they can morph and change their parts. But I kept wondering, how are these things soldiers, Marines? But they show how they could be capable later on. But I still think it's a bit
because humanoids and robotics are incredibly unstable. Yeah. That's why we're having such a trouble in the modern day making robots and androids, because humanoids are difficult with hydraulics. So the form that they have, where there's all these spindly attachments that come out, is fairly practical. It's not, aesthetically, it's not great to look at, but it is fairly practical. My first thought was,
it's a giant brick and it's moving. That's what were they doing? But then they do show the practicality of what it does, and also how it fits as part of I guess a co-pilot for vehicles and stuff like that. Anyway, we get introduced to the crew. You got Cooper, you got Anne Hathaway, you've got Tars, they get Case, the other robot. You've got Jamie Dutton from Yellowstone, because that's the dude, the first dude who gets aced.
Doyle.
And you got Black Guy. You got Black Guy, whose name I don't remember. So I'm going to be racist and call him Black Guy, who stayed away for 23 years. But they go off and you get some cool stuff. You get the launch. You get the endurance.
No sound in space.
I knew you were gonna love that. I knew you were.
I love it.
The sci-fi, the science fiction nerd in me wants sound, but the logical things. Yes, I know there's no sound in space, but
the organ was an interesting choice. That bothers some people, but using an organ for all the space sound, for like the resounding kind of vibration aspect of it.
I feel like that's a callback to Kubrick. I feel like that's kind of Nolan showing respect to Space Odyssey. I feel like that
it could be.
Yeah, I feel like that's what my thought was on that when I heard it. But now all this stuff, it's great visuals, it's simple special effects, nothing crazy. And they go on their mission. Now they go into hypo sleep for what, 2 months to get to the wormhole out at Saturn?
It's 2 years, I thought.
2 years. They were 2 years to Saturn? Okay.
Yeah, because currently with our current technology, it takes like 5 years to get to Jupiter.
You've seen this more than I have. Remember, I get all. The
I believe it's 2 years.
It's the minutia of some points here that I forget. So they get there. Time has passed. The messages keep coming back and forth, and then it's time for the wormhole. They go through it now. Mind you, it's another galaxy that they have provided transportation, but no other things. Now we have to remind everybody of this point now. 12 other people have been sent through the wormhole. 12 other astronauts, including the best of them. What was his name?
Dr. Man,
the best of us, whose research led them to this place in the first place. And they've located through the wormhole right now. 3 of them have come back. Dr. Man among them. Someone else.
Well, not come back. They're transmitting their information. The thumbs up.
Right. Information. The information has come back. Come on through. And then, of course, what we learn is the third guy is the one that Anne Hathaway's character happens to be in love with.
Edwards.
Thank you, Edwards. So they get there.
And I just want to mention the wormhole is a sphere. It's not some flat accretion disk or circle suspended in space. It's a sphere. And they explained it very well for me, but how did their explanation work for you? I mean, they used the Event Horizon explanation with the folded paper, but like telling you why it's a sphere versus a circle.
Listen, they did it better than Event Horizon did.
Because they didn't stab through a nudie mag?
Well, not so much
they didn't destroy that?
They in Event Horizon, they described more folding space than the wormhole. In this one, they did a better job of describing the wormhole rather than talking about folding space, which is what I think Event Horizon was talking about, not an actual wormhole. I still say that. No, they described it well in this one. They didn't. They made it clear. And then the idea that what would a sphere, what would it look like in 3 dimensions? It would look like a sphere. I mean, listen, we all can't have a Stargate in our backyard. Okay, We all can't have a machine to make the wormhole. But they go through the wormhole, and then they're presented with the problem. Here now begins Act 2, where the majority of my problems are with this movie. And I understand that the events of Act 2 must set up Act 3, but I think they could have been done better, because we have now the problem. Whose planets do you go to? You have planet number 1, Miller, the woman, which is really close to Gargantua, which means it's stuck inside the time dilation. You've got Edwards, who's a little farther out beyond Gargantua, but has shown proper updates. And then you've got Man, who's really far out there. But
other way around. Man's
okay.
next.
Man's
next. So it's Miller close to the black hole, Man still semi-close to the black hole, and Edwards is way out there. Edwards' data is probably the best out of the 3, but he stopped transmitting 3 years before they went through the wormhole. So that is a concern for them. Miller's data is really good, though, because they have water, liquid water, which is one of the most important compounds to human survival.
But there's the problem, and here's where we go now. So it's Miller or Edwards or Man. It's Miller, Man, Edwards, and Edwards for out. And Brandt, Anne Hathaway's character, wants to go to Edwards because she's in love with him, and that's the tagline of the movie. Love transcends things. Love is a foundation. I don't have a problem with that. I don't. I use that theme in a lot of my writing as well, the emotions of this. But
it bothers me. It is one of the things that bothers me most about this film, because it is so firm sci-fi. A theme like that in a softer sci-fi and something like Star Wars or even Star Trek, I could 100% buy, because it's a little bit more metaphysical. It's a little bit more fantastical. So emotions affecting the world around you is built in. It makes sense. But for a movie that is so built on realistic science, going so fantastical, so metaphysical,
with
as
her,
a central
it's a problem.
plot.
With her, it's a problem. With Cooper later on, it's not a problem.
Right.
Because
So
of what's going on.
It being part of the plot is what I have a problem with. Her believing it's true, I think, is fine.
Yeah,
her believing it, that's a character believing something. That's
but
unrelated.
At that point in the movie, that being her primary reason, I get it. But then also, I had a problem with that. I was thinking, you're being dumb, lady.
I don't like that speech she makes. I really don't like that speech.
To me, they make the stupidest mistake. And here is where we said, I appreciate that they get the idea of time dilation correctly. Why are we going to go look at the planet as a possibility that's inside the time dilation of a black hole? I know you said water, but to me,
water is enough. Liquid water is one of there's ice water throughout all the universe. It's one of the most bountiful compounds out there. But liquid water, that is enough to make that nearly the best looking planet.
I understand that.
Time dilation is actually beneficial. So let's say hypothetically, Miller's planet is the best planet, right? That there's not the waves, there's actual land, and you can breathe the air. Let's say it's Earth 2.0, right? But it's in the time dilation. That's actually a great thing. That is a boon in the planet's favor, because part of the crew can go down there, start plan B, build a civilization while Cooper goes back. And you'll have time to they'll get support sooner. Because a colony cut off from other people for decades is dangerous.
It's that same instance. And we're going to talk about this out just because I know Stargate is science fiction, but there's the episode where the wormhole, where the gate connects to the black hole planet, and the dilation is slowly expanding out from the SGC, and people come and go faster because in there it's only minutes, but it's been longer outside, so help is coming faster.
Exactly.
The point is, though, I know you're looking at it from scientific logic, but my non-scientific logic says, let's not be closer to the black hole. That's my thought. And also, when they're talking about how much time they're going to, because now you may be talking about the sense that, yes, it makes sense they can get time to get help there faster, but they don't have a lot of time on Earth is the problem. And the fact that going to Miller's planet would cost them years. That Earth doesn't have. To me, that was smart people being stupid. And I have a very big problem with that. And they get even dumber when they get down there, in my opinion. So, go ahead.
They are trying to think scientifically though, so because it makes sense from a scientist perspective, I think that's why it works plot wise because there are so many benefits to this planet, and Cooper does his best to mitigate them. Of course, there's extenuating circumstances,
I get
but
it.
I would make the same decision from the scientist perspective. The one thing that I'm concerned about that they don't really address is the sun. How does that solar system sun work? Is it so we know that Miller is orbiting the black hole, well, they're all orbiting the black hole, but is it their star system that's orbiting it? If so, then Miller will move out and into the time dilation field throughout its year. So there's stuff like that I want to know as the science geek. But no, with the information presented, yes, Cooper's pushing back on it hard, doing the best he can so he can get back to his daughter sooner. But from a scientific perspective, that was a planet that needed to be visited. That must be. And
see, I get what you're saying. Just my logic tells me too much risk to the time frame that they're in. And once they're down there, and of course they semi-land and they discover that the dilation is what it is, and that Miller had only been there a few minutes and literally probably just died right before they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get dumb, especially because they show something that shows me how dumb they were. Why not send TARS, who clearly could make that trip in seconds, to retrieve it instead of having Anne Hathaway walk out there? And then Jamie Dutton is just an idiot standing there going,
it's Case, not TARS, but
same difference.
I would have sent Case, but the problem is Anne Hathaway was disobeying orders, and the robot needs to obey the person in charge, which is Cooper. So Cooper was saying, get back. And so it was her individual decision. I need this flight recorder data.
And I know you made the point before where she said lack of field experience. And that's where it shows. And it's good for the character development. But I just feel as though these are mistakes being made simply to set up the now story element of the time lost and the time passage. And I feel like it could have been done in a way where characters don't behave like morons. That's my problem with the narrative right here. And that's where
I would still disagree with them being called morons, because there's the writing aspect that I think supports Anne Hathaway making the mistakes that she does make. And I think it is founded in a scientific argument why they needed to see the planet. I do agree that there are better ways they could have accomplished it, though. But this planet, we haven't mentioned it. It's a really cool idea where it's tidal forces. So do you know how tides work on Earth?
Yeah, the moon.
Yeah, so
it's the moon, the gravity.
The tides actually aren't moving, coming in and out. The oceans are virtually stationary to a certain degree. The water bulges out towards the moon, and Earth is rotating into the bulge. That's what the tidal forces are. So with the black hole, those tidal forces are a massive increase. So that's why those high tides.
I'm not pushing that aside. I just feel like this whole situation is written to create the problem of the lost time of the 23, 26 years, whatever it is, that they're on the planet for a few minutes, but actually is taking place outside the time dilation. I feel like it could have been accomplished better without these choices. And I know the argument is, well, it's good for her character, to her lack of field experience, but I can't.
Cooper, the experienced one, is pushing back on all those decisions.
Yeah, I know.
So the film realizes that these are mistakes and is showing you competing.
But I have a problem. I have a problem. I can't quite reconcile it. I think it's a little bit of an error. And the fact, and then you have Jamie Dutton, whatever guy's name is in the movie. I only know him from Jamie Dutton. That's how I keep calling him that. He just stands and goes.
Well, he also has no experience either, and we've seen in other scenarios he doesn't do good with stress in a life and death situations.
But Cooper's saying, get back in here.
He's in a flight or flight instant, right? They're torn between, hey, should I help her? Should I get back to the shuttle? And being frozen in fear, which is a very normal response.
I get it, but that's where the command of Cooper comes into play, and
it breaks him out of it. Yeah, it breaks him out of it.
It's the whole sequence. I just don't like this whole sequence, this whole section. This is my biggest problem with the movie, this part, because it's done to create the 23, 26-year time gap. That's why it exists in this movie. It's purely a plot device to create that happen, and it doesn't feel organic to me. It feels like they did it just to make it happen. And that's my biggest problem right there. That is my biggest problem. I have a few other small problems, but they're, again, narrative related. So
I can't agree with any of that. I haven't heard anyone say that. I've mainly heard people say, I don't understand relativity, so it's stupid. So, but I haven't heard.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone make this particular argument.
And because I understand relativity, I wouldn't have gone near it, because time is not something we have to spare.
Mm-hmm.
I would have said, let's try Miller, because we're not going to lose time. That's what I would have done. And that's why I think Cooper is such an important factor in this, because he doesn't have the science mind. I don't have the science mind, but my innate leadership abilities, my innate ability to look at things logically, as I like to believe it, tells me, let's not fuck with the thing that could lose us shitloads of something we don't have: time. That is, and your scientific brain tells you, but it's such a golden opportunity with the water and the time that can be fact. See, that's why that's where
it shows both of those perspectives in the film.
Yeah, and that's why my instincts tell me we should have gone the way, and that's my problem, because my instincts go against what the movie did. And so that was my next question. You already answered.
You would have made different decisions.
That was my next question. Like, had you ever heard anybody make this commentary? No, you haven't. So this was a first. I'm glad to be the first one.
Well, addressing Ariel in the comment, we've mentioned it a few times, but NASA has been newly refounded. It was defunct for a long time. They haven't had the resources to train, really. They haven't had the time to train, really. And there's no real world scenarios that they could train. I mean, they, of course, all have simulator training and stuff like that. But this isn't NASA at its peak. This isn't NASA right now, or even in the 60s or anything like that. This is a NASA scrounging for every dollar. And Cooper, who has one real world flight experience back in the day when he crashed, is the most experienced pilot they have. So it's not a great scenario. These are the best trained that they have, and they're not very well trained.
So in the end, my whole problem with this, with Act 2, is that I think they should have written a better circumstance to create the time gap they needed to have the character problems, the character development problem with Murphy now being in her 30s and stuff like that, and being so angry and showing that her brother's a retard, and
he's broken. I wouldn't call him a retard. He's just broken.
I don't know. I mean his behavior in that key moment, punching people out. I think I maybe because I'm not a psychologist, but because I don't, maybe because of course I've not lived these circumstances. I feel like he should trust his sister.
Well, he hasn't seen his sister in years. She's become a ghost to him. She practically moved into NASA right after Cooper left, definitely after the grandpa died, and she's been a recluse for decades.
I guess.
She's a stranger to him.
Well, no, she's clearly sort of getting on with Topher Grace.
Yeah, I guess. But one last thing I want to mention about the planet, because I do disagree with pretty much everything you said about it. I love the sequence, and I think it sets up more than just the plot time skip. It gives us a very visceral depiction of what time dilation can do, the damaging effects of it, so that we understand how big of a decision the black hole choice is at the end of the film.
And that's the thing. The black hole choice
at the end.
The black hole choice, that is such a great way to do it. I think they could have done a more haphazard version of that now and have them learn from that lesson to pull off what they do with the black hole at the end. That's just how my mind works, and it's just simply, I think it's the creative difference. I'm looking at this from a different creative difference. And Ariel, if you want to go back early in the stream, we talk all about that at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, setting we talk about.
We don't have time to rehash that right now, but you can rewatch that.
One last detail that nobody gets without looking up online. This isn't something that you can even pick up from the film, but if you noticed on Miller's planet, for the majority of the time that they were on there was a ticking clock in the background. You probably heard the sound, the ticking clock. Now, a lot of inferior directors just throw in a ticking clock to increase suspense, get the audience on the edge of their seat and stuff like that. And it's
the pacing for the wave, isn't it? Is that what it is?
No.
Okay.
Each tick is a month back on Earth. It is showing you the passage of time.
Oh, okay. You need to look that up. I thought
you would have to look that up. You wouldn't know that just watching the film, but knowing that's what that was for.
I think that's cool, but give us something to hint at that. I don't like it that I have.
I don't know how they would have been able to because the characters wouldn't hear it. So I think it's just a cool Easter
I think
egg.
it's cool, but I don't like not knowing it unless you tell me. That's my problem. I think it's a very cool thing because I thought the ticking was some sort of pacing for the wave. That's what I thought. When
I guess they could show it in a way with like there's a timer on the clock that's been attuned to Earth time and Miller time, and they just show it for it.
That's not Nolan. Nolan wouldn't just show you the numbers.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. But I feel annoyed that I'd have to be told that. That's just. But all right. So we disagree on this whole thing, but we don't have to agree on everything. And this was my biggest problem with the movie. That section was my biggest problem because I don't like the way it was executed. But it doesn't ruin the movie. But it does create now the circumstance. All this time has passed on Earth, and I guess we can hurry through this part in the sense that
Jessica Chastain is the worst part of this movie as Murph's daughter. As older Murph.
She has no range, dude.
I'm not a fan of her as an actress.
I'm not either.
I think she's fine and serviceable, but the young Murph, I think she did a far better job. The 10-year-old version of Murph was fantastic.
Her bitterness is here's the thing. She gets bitter. She does the bitter part well, but the problem is it's not. I don't feel for her because of Chastain's performance. I have no empathy for her because I think she's being dumb.
Yeah, I sympathize way more with Michael Caine through this bit, even finding out the big lie. I understand why he made that decision.
I understand it too. It's a horrible thing, but sometimes that's the burden of leadership. It's the burden of leadership. You make the calls, and you're the one that carries the guilt or whatever weight those calls bring with you. But we learn now in this point that all the time has passed, and she was essentially raised in NASA. After that, given a princely scientific education by the premier of the field, Michael Caine's character, Dr. Brandt, and she is his assistant, and she gets it. But here's the thing: my only problem is that Murph is just so special. I know this before we do this whole era of whammies of that, but I feel as though the first part of the movie didn't give me enough to believe that she's just that good. She's just that good, and
what are her accomplishments? Her actual accomplishments, not anything given to her. What does she do?
She learns.
So a lot of people have called her a girl boss in the past. I'm not saying that's.
I'm not calling her a girl boss.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I'm addressing that criticism of the film, and she does at first glance seem to be an over genius, but she had a predisposition to science, as we saw early on, given the scientific method to fight for scientific principles like the moon landing, which was real, and everything like that. So there's a foundation to have a desire towards science, and then, like you said, she was the prodigy of Michael Caine, so she got the training. But more importantly, she didn't solve the equation. Michael Caine had the equation just with the gaps missing from the quantum data in the black hole.
They set that up.
Right. Yeah. And then she's given the pieces to fill in. So all she's transcribing. That's all she's doing. She's not figuring it out. She's not solving anything. She's purely transcribing it. Any dozens and dozens of other scientists with an understanding of the mathematics of the equation could have accomplished the same thing. She merely had the emotional connection to facilitate the bridge at the end of the film in the black hole. So she's not a genius. I mean, she's put up as a genius at the very, very end of the film when she's an old woman because of what she facilitated. But she was a conduit. She was not a genius. I'm sure she was very smart, but if Topher Grace, it looked like he was a physicist working on the team too. If Topher had the watch, he could have plugged in the numbers.
I can accept this.
It's just transcribing. So she's not. I don't see her as a gold boss. I don't even see her as a super genius or anything like that. Okay. She just had the emotional connection and the predisposition to science enough to understand.
You know what I think this is? This is you've seen this enough times that you're able to parse this down. On a first looking, it seems like she's put in that place, even though
100%.
Even though all the pieces are in place, where she says you're doing this with your hands tied behind your back, this and that. and she admits at the end, I just, did what I did. I didn't do anything. It's all there. But the movie presents her on a first watching as more than she actually is. But you've had the privilege of seeing this, the benefit of seeing this multiple times. So you can come to that more quickly than I did. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
But Jessica Chastain
she's
she
terrible.
comes off as arrogant, so I get why
That's
people
the problem
feel
too.
that.
It's the performance. It's her performance that I think somebody with a little bit more range, a little bit more empathy, not so much I'm angry at my daddy, that kind of crap. Which
it comes across as childish. She seems more childish as an adult than she does as a 10-year-old.
I think her anger is unreasonable to Cooper. I really do. I feel like
she takes it too far. It makes sense as a 10-year-old, but as an adult, you've had time to deal with it. You actually know the problem. Like Cooper mentioned, he didn't explain to Murph before he left that he was going to go save the world. But at this point, she's grown up in NASA. She sees the crisis that they're in, and she knows he's saving the world for her as much as anyone else as a whole. So I agree. She has a peek behind the curtain enough to know. And of course, thinking that her father knew that he was never coming back and there was no hope, that could cause some resentment.
But she doesn't get that until that moment.
That's what I mean. So at that moment, I could see all the resentment.
That would make sense then. But
I think they wrote it in just to have her surprise one message at the end of the series of from her brother. I think that's why they wrote it into that degree. So I would consider it a flaw. There are better ways to have her incommunicado with her father than that. It is a good moment, the reveal of "Hi, Dad."
Yeah,
and that sequence, Matthew McConaughey's performance is phenomenal.
That's the meme. That's the meme. That's the meme where he's going, "Oh my god!" Yeah, I have never seen anything for this movie except that meme. That is the only thing I'd ever seen from this movie. Before this,
there's a funny scene in that sequence, or funny thing about that sequence when he's watching all the videos that no one really picks up on. Matthew McConaughey's character is called John Cooper. Cooper is his last name. Do you know why that causes some problems?
No.
His son named his Cooper's grandson Cooper.
Cooper. Yeah, okay.
His grandson's name is Cooper Cooper.
That's retarded.
Yeah.
As I said, his son's an idiot.
he might be, yeah. And Lois, his wife, did push back on it for the first kid, the one who died, but I guess she just gave up. She's like, fine, you can call our son Cooper Cooper, you dumbass. We never really meet her more than that one scene.
And the coughing in the examination. All right, so I think what we settled on here is that you rightly corrected me on my take on Murph because you've had the benefit of seeing more, but also the problem stems from a little bit of shitty writing combined with a poor performance by Jessica Chastain, and that leads you to be annoyed with her, and because it's and I say it's bad writing because, like you just quite well put out, that she's an adult. She knows what's going on. She should not have this childish hatred for her dad not coming back. She should know the time dilation possibilities and all these things. She should know all this. So it's a little immature, and I'm going to equate that to bad writing, and that's a problem. But we now have the problem. It's been 23 years, and everything's so much worse on Earth. And now the movie starts jumping back and forth between unknown galaxy and Milky Way. And now they have the choice: go for Miller or go for Man. Back on the Endurance, and they go for Man because of who he's supposed to be, the best of us.
And he's currently in communication as well.
Yeah, it's not just dead silence. So they head out there and they find him. And here's the surprise. It's Matt Damon. And now, once again, here comes the predictability. We get there. I know something's wrong. There's just something off about this dude. And I saw the heel turn coming. I just didn't know how it was going to be executed. And it's done well, but again, predictable. And is it just me?
I think it is absolutely predictable, but his appearance surprised so many people in theaters that I think they were partially relying on the shock of seeing Matt Damon to not immediately leap to that conclusion. So it worked a little bit for some people upon theatrical release, but at this point, it doesn't have the same
I
impact.
didn't know Matt
that it
Damon
would.
was in this. I didn't know. I didn't know he was in this. I was surprised when it was him. So
Well, you weren't following the film. Like people who've seen the trailers, they think they understand what's going on. They think they know who the full cast is, and they come into it with a firm expectation of who's in it. And then they're, whoa, what's Matt Damon? Whoa. But yeah, it is predictable. And at this point, there's too much of the movie left for this to be the paradise he claims it to be. Yeah,
there's an hour.
It's pretty clear. Maybe people didn't know the runtime as well, but yeah, I think they relied a little too heavily on it being surprise Matt Damon. Then
and then what he's saying that there's a surface. I'm like, wait, we're on the surface. I
no,
can see
no,
this. I know. But...
they're in a frozen cloud layer.
Oh, that was a frozen cloud layer.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's so cold and has gas giant like tendencies that something like that is plausible.
See, it didn't make it clear to me. Maybe I missed it. I know that they hit the cloud on the way in.
Because they were going in between the layers. There were several cloud layers.
I didn't know that was a cloud layer. Did they say it or did I just miss it?
Yep, they talked about it being cloud layer, and they even is there a surface? They're like, is there a surface between all this? And later on, Matt Damon's like, yes, there is a surface down there, which there isn't.
I missed it.
So it's basically a gas giant.
That's my fault. I missed it. I missed
to
say that these were layers, and I got it that we're on some sort of layer. I missed it was a cloud layer. I missed that. That's what that was. That's on me. That's on me.
Essentially a cloud layer, yeah.
Okay. So we learned very quickly after being there that first of all, now it is a good setup that what kind of isolation can do to somebody. And it broke him. It broke him. And all he could rely on is the mission, save humanity. And to him, saving humanity meant throwing anybody else under the bus in order to do it. And
I mean, he already threw all of humanity under the bus with Plan B being the only option.
Yeah.
So what's adding a couple people to 6 billion?
Yeah, because he admits it. He says, yeah, Plan B was always the only option. Because Michael Caine had told him that it wasn't going to work back then. So he knew. But he couldn't. But here's where this is where it is good writing and good character work. This guy whose ego is everything cannot have history show that he chose the wrong planet. So he fabricated his results to lure them in so he could then take their ship and go to someplace else, we would assume. And
Edward's planet, most assumedly.
Yeah. And then, of course, he tries to kill Coop in a fight, but Coop managed to get the transmitter back. And then Tars and Anne Hathaway get back to him in time. But Man isn't listening. He ends up also sabotaging and blowing up Black Doctor in case they get aced, which is unfortunate because Black Doctor, he dealt with 26 years of isolation, 23 years. He
handled it a lot better because he didn't even have the robot. Matt Damon had a robot for the first few years before it broke down.
Yeah.
And I love the moment where Matt Damon is trying to crack Matthew McConaughey's visor and Cooper goes, hey, you've got a 50-50 chance this is going to break your own helmet. 50-50. That's the best odds I've had in years.
Yeah.
That's a broken man if 50-50 is...
It's a broken scientist. Because only a scientist would look at it like that. A normal person would go, wait a minute, okay, 50-50, I'm going to wait a second here. Scientist, oh, that's great odds, I'll take it. I'll take it. That was good enough for me.
But, I love that exchange. I think that was incredibly well written.
Yeah, it's a great exchange. I like it, yeah.
And I even like him going a little bit into the scientific route to explain Cooper's death. Like, what does science tell us is the last thing you'll see before your death? Your children are extension of our will to survive. It goes to our children, how that works, and trying to intellectualize it, which is a real response to trauma and things like that, trying to intellectualize it. And of course, scientists are more prone to do that than anybody else. But I really like that whole exchange of how Matt Damon revealed his traitorous intentions.
Yeah. And then, of course, he ends up doing the stupid thing. Again, now I can attribute to a smart person doing stupid because he's crazy at this point. He's not sane. So him essentially damaging the Endurance and losing Ranger 1 and that kind of stuff, I can accept all of that because we're dealing with a madman. Point, an egomaniacal madman who cannot take it that history would look at him poorly for making the mistakes that he made. And then you get the cool thing you mentioned earlier, or no, we were talking about this in the green room where
No, I mentioned it with the D box.
You're based. Okay, that was. It's been an hour and I'm sick. Leave me alone. I got a few more days of that excuse. But now it's pairing it up. It's a very cool sequence. A lot of good physics involved in this because you got to remember it's space. It's space. It's not. We're not on Earth. We're not on a gravitation.
Air resistance makes a big difference, or the lack thereof in this case.
Yeah. And then we get the choice. We got to get to Miller, but how? And they already set it up. Edwards. But how? They'd already set it up. Skim the black hole. Essentially, we're gonna slingshot around the sun a little bit, almost essentially.
And it's the same principle.
Yeah, and now this is where the movie gets metaphysical. Now we get metaphysical.
Plausibly metaphysical.
It's definitely meta. We're definitely getting meta at this point because they go through this whole cool thing where they have to jettison weight in order to allow the endurance to make it out of it. And Coop's going to sacrifice himself along with Tars. Tars is going to get the information, and Coop is just a dead weight at this point. He's done it. Says, I've done my job. I'm the pilot. I got you there. You're going to go this. And they get sucked into the black hole while Anne Hathaway gets shot off to Edwards' planet. And now
with Case, because Case wasn't destroyed in the explosion where the black guy died. He ran out of it, so she's got Case.
Yeah. But the point is, she's on her way for Plan B. Because Edwards' planet turns out to be everything they need. It's sustainable. The readings are there. Atmosphere. They can breathe without their helmets on. And the weather seems decent enough. Because at the end,
we never find out how Edwards died, though.
I would guess old age because they were there. Well, no, he was dead before then, wasn't he?
Yeah, before the time dilation on Miller's planet.
Well, she clearly found his body because we see her making.
Yeah, she buried him. Yeah. So something, maybe wildlife exposure. There's accident, plenty of things that could. It's not important, but
there was a camp there. We see this whole a base camp set up at the end there. Point is though, and now Coop and Tars get sucked into the black hole, and cool stuff. And then we learn the truth of it all. And here's where we get my other problem. Not so much these events. This is a personal thing. So this is now purely subjective, not objective. This commentary here. Why don't you lay out what happens now with this? Why don't you lay it out? Since you've seen it enough times, I don't want to mess anything up. Why don't you lay it out?
Perfect. So you explained it really well at that point. They're trying to slingshot around the black hole so Anne Hathaway can get to Edwards' planet. And they try to get rid of all the dead weight, Tars and a Ranger and Cooper. They had different types of shuttles. They're not all Rangers, but we're just going to call them Rangers for simplicity. They fall into separate Rangers down into the black hole. There's a lot of really cool visuals that happen. He has to eject from the Ranger and goes down in just his spacesuit. Now, there was already the plan for Tars to do this. That was something that we were discussing back on Man's planet.
Yeah.
They already had the first basis of the plan because it is real world that regular everyday practical physics is very different than quantum physics on the quantum level where things are incredibly small, right? And a black hole isn't supported by regular physics. You have to incorporate this different rule of reality. And so, and in the quantum realm, or not in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Move on. It's okay. Move on.
In quantum physics, there is an ability to manipulate space and time through things like quantum entanglement, or as Einstein calls it, spooky action at a distance. So they want Tars was going down there to see if he could physically show or notice the bridge between real physics and quantum physics and read the data. They had no hope of transmitting it. That's a problem because black holes suck in everything, including light or massless particles, and any radio transmissions would be included in that as well. So they have no way to get the data out. They were hoping he'd figure out some way while he was down there, but it was virtually hopeless. But it was that bridge between the quantum physics and practical physics that was the key to the gravitational equation. So they were going down there, and suddenly the gravity isn't as big of a player as you'd expect it to be, because there's no way a human being can survive going into a black hole because of a thing called spaghettification. Actually, if you were to observe someone falling into a black hole, they'd fall, and then they'd slow down from your perspective until they eventually froze because time was moving so slowly for them in relation to you, and then eventually fade away as the light from bouncing off of them was captured by the black hole, and they just fizzle out of existence. But there would be a spaghettification aspect.
This is when I knew we were getting to metaphysical, because I'm thinking, why isn't he crushed or whatever from gravity? My mundane knowledge. And I'm
So
like, okay,
the way was prepared for him by the fifth
Exactly.
dimensional beings. So
yeah,
that's what facilitated his survival. Is the fifth dimensional beings have control over gravity, and they can control the gravity around him to prevent him from getting crushed.
and they
But
created a single point in time centered around Murphy's room.
yep. So he gets into a tesseract in there, and there's, as much as people have a problem with that final season of Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who, and there are plenty of issues with it. In the first episode of season 10, there's a point where he's lecturing the university, and that's what Bill's introduced to him. And he's giving the speech. Imagine, if you would, time laid out before you like a building, or like a city. One building is the day you were born, another is the day you die, and you can walk through them as easily as you would a real world city. That is a great explanation for what these fifth dimensional beings are and what they've created. So we exist in 3 dimensions and travel through 4 dimensions as everyday people, 4th dimension being time. Theoretically, there could be 2-dimensional people who experience 3-dimensional space like we experience time. And the same is true in the opposite direction as well, growing into more dimensions. So this space, there's no gravity because they can control the gravity, but there are these pockets, these moments of time from Murph's bedroom scattered around in a physical environment. It's translated into a 3-dimensional space. So this isn't what it would look like. If you were a 5th-dimensional being, this isn't what it would look like.
Yeah.
But it's translated in such a way that our 3-dimensional minds can grasp.
And I'm fine with all that. I have no problem with all this, because now
that's where a lot of people have a problem with the movie. They're like,
okay.
I don't get how it makes sense. Why is there a bookcase in a black hole? Movie's dumb.
No, because
it's awful.
Because they twisted time and created, like I said, a tesseract, a moment, the window. I'm problem with that. Here's my problem, and here's the reveal. One, I have no problem with him being the one doing that stuff, because that's the connection, the watch and all that stuff, because the watch has to be the vehicle to transmit the message through Morse code. Fine with that. The revelation that the fifth dimensional beings, are humans so far in the future that they're affecting the past like that. I don't like, I want to say this correctly. I do not like self-fulfilling prophecies.
This is definitely one of those. It's time travel where it always happened this way.
I hate that. I am a firm believer, and Jed can attest to this. It's already present in my writings now. It's something that I will continue in my own writings. That I believe in free will. I believe in shaping destiny. I don't like predetermined stuff. I like to put that there's free will, team free will, to quote Supernatural. That's my last biggest problem with this, that it's all self-fulfilling, predetermined. It was going to happen on that. That in order to make it happen, they have to send the information back. And this is
narratively, it's not as emotionally fulfilling as other forms of time travel, like Back to the Future laws or whatnot. It is the most scientifically sound, though, because violating causality would cause a lot of problems in physics. It would violate general relativity. Like I mentioned at the beginning, time travel into the future has always been possible if we can go fast enough or close enough to a strong gravitational force. We can literally time travel into the future, depicted very well by Einstein's light clock, if you're familiar with that. But time traveling into the past, from our perspective, it breaks every fundamental law of known physics. So making it where everything's predetermined, everything happened this way, where any time a manipulation was always that way, creating virtually a continuous loop is the most scientifically sound. But I agree, it's not necessarily the most narratively or emotionally fulfilling, but it is the most plausible.
I'm not arguing the science. I'm arguing the narrative, the story, making it like that. It falls flat there, because after they win where they get the information, and Murph is able to transcribe, as you very well put that earlier, humanity is saved. They're able to make space stations and that kind of stuff and get off of Earth and survive without the colony. And then I don't mind that they dropped him because dilation, he's caught. And then the fifth dimensional humans, we'll call them what they are now, the fifth dimensional humans took him out and dropped him back into regular time at Saturn, where he's picked up.
Yep, at the other end of the wormhole.
Yeah, I have no problem with that because then you get a nice little ending, get reunited, all that kind of stuff. And we didn't talk about the whole Murph in the room while her brother is dealing with the fire that she set on the corn. Forget all that. That's just theater. That's theatrics.
It's not convenient though. These people have the abilities to accomplish everything. So if you're playing with toys in your kid's room, you're going to have what you want to happen. They have the power to treat us like children,
and that's like toys. The point. And they can only do that because they go back and they use their technology to send the information back so they can exist. But we already discussed that. I just don't like it. It's fundamentally, to me, it's bad storytelling. It's bad storytelling, and I don't like it. That's where I lose the remainder of my points on this movie. But it's a nice ending, reunited with Murph, happy with that, and a very nice thing. You shouldn't have to watch your child die. I'm surrounded.
That moment is so beautiful. I've cried watching that moment.
And go off now. Go where you're needed. Go be the explorer now without the tethers, without the worry of me, because I'm fine. Look, I'm fine. The fact that I got to see you again made everything worth it. And she has her family, and the Cooper line continues.
There's no guarantee that these colonies are going to Edward's world, because with the gravitational equation, they don't need Edward's world anymore.
I never even thought they were going to Edward's world.
Yeah, Gargantuan is what they needed, was the black hole and the data in there. They could go anywhere. They could stay on these space stations. They could probably terraform at this point.
Yeah, see,
if you can reshape space-time, nothing's in your way.
Yeah, you see, I looked at this when I'm like, they're on space stations. I go immediately to Gundam, where they're space colonies. So okay, we're on space colonies now. We can live off of Earth. That problem solved.
With that means Anne Hathaway's abandoned, and she didn't sign up for that, like the Lazarus Project. So it becomes purely a personal mission. Is don't let Anne be alone.
And I'm fine with that. That's a nice, heartwarming ending that he's going to go out there, and we're going to be the audience is given the knowledge. Okay, nice, happy ending. He's going to get out there. He steals a ship with TARS, and they head out there.
Now, there's different opinions on the interpretations of the ending here. I want to get your opinion. Okay. Do you feel like the film's ending was implying that Cooper and Brand were going to become romantically involved on Edward's planet?
50-50. 50-50.
That's my interpretation. They have enough chemistry that it might develop there, but I don't think he's going there because I'm in love with her suddenly. Let's make babies.
He's an explorer. He's an explorer. That's it's an explorer thing. It's 50-50. They haven't spent enough time, and for her, she still has feelings for the man, for Edwards, who just died. She just buried him. It hasn't been that long. So
that's the interpretation I like. Some people try to criticize the film and saying, "Oh, it becomes a romance at the end, and the ending doesn't make sense."
No.
I don't see that.
The possibility is there if they're the only two adults there. People have needs. Attractive man and attractive woman. Hey, things are going to happen.
And Plan B's still going strong.
Yeah.
By the time he gets there might be more relativity involved, and there might be a whole colony that needs an experienced man like him.
Yeah. So there's enough implication, but it's 50-50. It doesn't have to happen. The implications are there that it could be a thing, that he's going there. One, because they have a connection. Those two, they've been through the shit. They have a connection, but it's not beyond, I think, a burgeoning friendship at this point.
And I agree 100%. I think the people reading into the romance and saying the movie's bad as a result are seeing things that aren't necessarily there.
At that point, I think you're just being angry.
There are a lot of people who get violently angry. Like, if you watch any Geeks and Gamers stream and hear Interstellar mentioned, the chat will be full of people saying the movie's awful, you're a bad person for liking it. Like, there is a strong anti-Interstellar movement on YouTube. And I think it's fundamentally, there are the people who just find it boring, and that's completely fine. And it's not their type of movie. That's a different
argument. That's a completely different argument.
Yeah. Zero problems with that. I get that it's a kind of a niche film. It doesn't appeal to everyone, and I'm the perfect target audience for that. Totally get that. but there are people who disingenuously attack the film because they didn't understand it,
I think I've
and
been
their
fair
ego
today.
won't. You've been 100% fair. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I may disagree with your takeaways, but
Yeah.
they're not rooted in disingenuous positions.
No.
Nothing
Listen,
like that.
the movie is produced well, directed excellently. The production value is high, with the exception of Jessica Chastain. Everybody's an excellent actor except for Jessica Chastain. Everybody gives great performances. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is just being Matthew McConaughey. He has one gear, and he makes it work no matter what. But everybody does a great performance, and the movie looks beautiful. The soundtrack, what little over there is fitting for the scenes, and I understand the motifs they're pushing. So I don't have a problem with this movie. Am I ever going to watch it again? I'd have to be made to. This is not something I'm going to revisit. You filled in the gaps that I missed, like pointing out how Murph isn't a genius. You pointed it out quite nicely. You filled the gaps
She's
that I missed.
absolutely smart. She's above average, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's an implication that she's Einstein 2.0.
You corrected a couple things that I had a little misconstrued, and I once again I blame that on Jessica Chastain's performance and the movie's presentation of her character, poorly written at that point. So I blame the movie for that, not so much myself. But I don't hate this movie. I think it's fine, and I think my score will reflect it objectively, minus the things I've talked about. I think it worked that way. So in the end, I didn't hate this, and now I can talk about it. I'm happy to have discussions with people about it. I guess I can. I don't quite understand irrational hate for it. I mean, I could see that Kale that talk about it being boring. That's just that's a normal reaction, and I can see it in almost 3 hours. I cut 20, maybe 30 minutes out of this. I'd be okay with that. I would definitely.
I could see it.
With it. I mean, so anyway, well, there you go. I think that was this a good discussion you wanted?
Yes, I thought this discussion was great, balancing the scientific argument, of course, I wanted to have, but I think we delved into the writing a lot. This is the type of stream that I love about Saturday Night Drive-In, because we're coming at it from different perspectives, but not in any extreme. It's not one of those instances where I absolutely hate a movie that you love, or vice versa. We're coming at it from different perspectives, but they're very argumentative driven and very logically driven. So I think we have fantastic discussions in movies like this.
I think you probably knew I was going to go. Most of my points would be story related. That's where I would have my issues, and made my case. And we don't agree, but hey, we're fine. Show's not over anyway. All right, so it's your week. You get to score it first.
Perfect. Well, I absolutely adored this film. With Inception, these are two of my favorite movies of all time. It's basically Alien, Inception, and Interstellar all vying for the top spot. I think it's phenomenally well done, balancing out real hard science fiction and great storytelling. I think the father-daughter relationship is great, the backbone of this film. It's emotionally compelling. Like I said, I've literally cried watching this movie before. It's heartwarming and intellectual. It balances out the things I love most, writing and science, to such an immaculate degree. At the same time, I do recognize why people wouldn't like it. I do recognize that it's slow and boring, and that my tastes aren't a common taste. And there are issues with the writing, specifically with Murphy's presentation as an adult parse, because of her casting and her writing. And there are contrivances, so I'm not going to give this a perfect score or anything like that. I do think it is far better than the average person gives it credit for, so I will have to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Ooh, I'm not far off from you. I think I've made my points clear. For me, the most of the from a objective standpoint, produced well, acted well for the most part, except for Chastain. Mostly written well. I appreciate the scientific application. We mentioned at the beginning of the stream. It makes it relatable. We can believe it's happening. Nolan does trust his audience to make logical conclusions on stuff. My problems stem from certain narrative choices and this and that, and I still feel that it could have been done differently and still gotten the same effect of losing those 23 years to still achieve the goal you needed for the time passage to put the pressure on stuff like that. But in the end, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it lands quite. The movie deserves the respect it has, because Nolan is a great director, and we deserve to have a movie treat us not like idiots. And this movie doesn't treat us, the audience, like an idiot, and I appreciate that. All right. Well, this wasn't a Christmas movie, and we only have time for 2 more weekends for Christmas movies before we're go on Christmas break and to get to the New Year's. So I get a Christmas movie choice next week. Jed hasn't seen this. It's an adaptation of the Christmas Carol. I wanted to do something a little fun, a little goofy. We're gonna do Bill Murray's Scrooged. It's an interesting take on A Christmas Carol. It's a fun one. I think it's fun. I think you'll like it. You might not laugh out loud a lot, but it's pure Bill Murray. It's pure Bill Murray, and the cast is well rounded, and it's got a lot of good stuff in it, and it gets across the message of the Christmas Carol in its own interesting, unique way. Not very deep, but it's not supposed to be. But I wanted to get a Christmas movie in that. And remember, guys, you guys will choose the last movie of the season. Go to my post tab at the channel. It's up there. The rules are there. Chat, choice, fourth quarter 2025. The only main rule, the only thing is got to be Christmas movie. And I guess it'll be left up to Jed and I decide wherever we get to pick it or make the list. Does it qualify a Christmas movie? And yes, we've already decided Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But
yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes. We've already done Die Hard, but we haven't done Die Hard 2.
We haven't. I've never seen it.
All right, guys. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate each and every one, whether you're here or over on Endless Frontier. Hit those like buttons, subscribe to the channels, and we'll see you guys next time. Until then, take it easy. And if we don't see you till then, Merry Christmas.